This shiny Tangela is brought to you by Advanced GG, where I've got my first ever merch drop that also is coming with a tournament and a creator event. But more on that later in the video. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to get guaranteed shiny wild Pokemon on the Switch version of Fire Red and Leaf Green using RNG manipulation. This will work for both versions and all languages except Japanese, as the tools that we're using right now don't have the Japanese languages supported quite yet. Now, first, I'm going to go over things that you're going to need in-game, and then after that, I'm going to go over some things that you're going to need out-of-game. In-game, you're going to want a Pokemon with the attack Sweet Scent. I'm using Venusaur here. This is so that you can encounter wild Pokemon. This gets a guaranteed forced encounter, so that's why we want it. And this will work pretty much the same whether you're surfing or in the grass or in the Safari Zone or anything like that. The next thing that you want is a way to capture Pokemon. I also recommend having a Master Ball. The Master Ball will be a way to quickly calibrate where you are in the RNG sequence, and you won't have to permanently use it. But then otherwise, you want, a Pokeball, Great Ball, and then also, if you have a Sweet Center, maybe they can learn Sleep Powder. So this is going to be the recommended setup in-game. You also should save wherever the wild Pokemon is going to be. I'm saving down here because that's where Tangela spawn, and that's the shiny that I want. That's pretty much everything you're going to need to do in-game for now. Out of game, we're going to need to get a few websites open. And the first one is Eon Timer. So this is dasamfros.github.io/EonTimer. I'll link this in the description. And all the tools I'm using are just websites. You can do all of this on your phone and with just a Switch. I'm just recording my computer because that's a bit nicer. Okay, so once you have Eon Timer open, what you're going to want to do is click the settings cog here and then click timer. And you want to make sure that you're on GBA for the console. Even though you're on the Switch, you want to make sure it says GBA. Yeah, that's what we want. And then hit OK. And then we want to go to the custom tab here. I'm already on it, but it might spawn you on a different one. You want to be on the custom tab. At this point, we're pretty much ready to go. We just have to go to a different website now called the 10 Lines. As I said in the intro, this video is partnered with Advanced GG, and I've got my first ever merch drop going through them. It's a water type themed drop that contains a water bottle. It's double walled stainless steel, so it keeps your drinks cold, and it comes with a shaker bottle that you could use on my flavor, which is Bubble Beam. It's kind of like a Hawaiian blue fruit punch flavor. It's really good. It's Focus branded, which I like because I have ADHD and it can kind of help me with that. We've also got a t-shirt that says Team Blisy on it, and we've got the water type logo on the back. And then the last thing that we've got, which is super cool, is the desk mat, which I'm using right now. You can see it's pretty big and it's freaking awesome. Now you might be wondering, why is it a water type drop and why do you have a shirt that says Team Blisy? Like, what is the team? Well, let me show you the website and I can explain it because it comes with an event with PokeMD and Num Nexus. So the way this works is that there's 3 different teams. There's the grass type team, which is Pokemon, the electric type team, which is Num Nexus, and the water type team, which is me. You can click any of the teams to go to their individual pages and get any of the merch. And every single time that you buy a piece of merch, you're going to get sent a link to a Google form where you can pick a team member that AIM, Numnexus, or I will use for a team in Pokemon Champions on April 24th. And then you'll also be able to sign up for the second event, which is May 1st Champions Tournament. I hope you all enjoy all of this stuff. If you buy anything, let me know in my Discord. You could show me on Twitter. You could show me on Blue Sky. You could show me in the Discord as well. And back to the tutorial. Thanks you all for watching. Once we're done with Eon Timer, we're going to want to go to the 10 Lines. This is a website that will be able to tell us when our shiny is going to spawn. So the first thing we need to do is select our game, which is Switch Fire Red or Leaf Green, depending on what you're on. I'm going to be on Leaf Green, I believe. No, I'm on Fire Red. I couldn't remember actually. But yeah, I'm on Fire Red. Okay, so for sound, button mode, and seed button, all we're going to do is I'm going to be changing help. Now, you can change any of these to whatever you want, and all it's talking about is these options here, sound and button mode. So if you don't find a shiny that you would like, you can change these to try and find different spreads. The seed button is what button you're going to be pressing at the title screen, and there's 3 options. The third one, L on L equal A, is only for if you have the button mode set to L equal A, which is this one here. I'm not doing that, so you can't use that. You could use start or A. I'll be using A in this tutorial. Extra button, we're going to leave at none. Console, whichever console you're playing on, Switch 1 or 2. I'm on the Switch 2. Doesn't really matter. And then the seed, you could just leave it at the default position here. You just want to make sure that there's some seeds above and seeds below it, right? We're going to leave it at whatever the default one was here. Seed plus and minus, we're going to leave 0 as well. And for minimum advances, let's set this to 2,000. And then we're going to set the maximum to like 6,000. Offset, leave blank. And then required overworld frames, we're also going to leave that at 600. That is how long you're going to be waiting in the overworld. And that never changes. And that's because it's a little bit different than how this works on the GBA, which is the fact that in the overworld, the RNG is advancing 2 by 2. And we want to minimize our time in there. So we're just going to set a static 600 amount of advances there. Okay. Trainer ID and secret ID. So secret ID, if you don't know what yours is, you can find it. You can find it by getting your starter or by getting a quick shiny. Hopefully I'll have a short out about the quick shiny soon, but you can go to my starter tutorial if you haven't done that, or you can use arbitrary code execution, which is a glitch. You can follow my friend Papa Hefe's videos to do that. So I'm going to type mine in here, 12500. And then my secret ID, I wrote it down somewhere. There we go. For method, we're going to do wild 1. And then for location category, we're going to do grass. The options here are pretty big. I'm not going to be covering fishing or rock smashing today, but the methods that I'm showing right now will work for grass and for surfing. Okay, so let's scroll down and find, we're on Route 21, I believe. So you can just type it in there. That's where I'm at. Type in wherever you're at. Here it'll show what Pokemon are available. Tangela is only available here. If you have more than one Pokemon, you can check filter. So this will make sure it only searches for Tangela. Obviously, that's all there is here. But if we go to like Route 18, you could see there's multiple Pokemon. If I only wanted to search for Raticate, I would click Raticate and then I would check the filter box. If I don't care which Pokemon is shiny, I would uncheck that. Since I'm on Route 21 and there's only one Pokemon here, I don't need to check it. Shininess, we're going to set to star and square. And then because I don't care about nature or gender or stats, we're going to leave those blank, and then we're just going to click submit. And we should get a decent number of results. So when looking at results, you have two things to consider. These are the continue screen frames and the seed. The continue screen frames is how long you wait at the continue screen, which is this screen here. I'll get to it really quickly. And that's because since we're not altering the overworld frame ever, remember that's what we put in here as 600. Since we're never altering that, you're going to be waiting here for 1555 frames if you went for this one. And then to figure out, well, what is advances then? Advances is the continue screen frames, or the overworld frames multiplied by 2 and then added to continue screen. So I have 600 overworld frames here. That's 600 frames in the overworld. Multiply that by 2, that's 1200. 1200 plus 1555 is 2755. So we would only be waiting the 1555 plus 600. So it's just basically how long are you waiting? I tend to go for lower if I can. And then the seed here, the seed just tells you what the actual seed is for RNG information. And then the milliseconds here, you see this is 30323 milliseconds. That's how many milliseconds you're going to be waiting for the intro to play out, and then after the intro is done on the title screen. Now, there's going to be other things to consider, right? There's the stats, there's the ability, there's the hidden power, there's the gender, nature. All of these things are things that you can consider when you're going for a Pokemon. What level they are even, right? All that stuff matters. I am not going to care about that very much in this video. So we're going to be aiming for this seed, ED64, and we're going to be going for these. So the first thing is let's set up Eon Timer. So in Eon Timer, the first thing you're going to do is change 1 here, this is 1, to milliseconds, and we're going to type in whatever the milliseconds here was. I'm going to copy that. Paste that there. Then we're going to hit plus, and we're going to do a second one, and we're going to set this to advances, and that's going to be what the continue screen frames are. So we're going to copy that, paste that into Eon Timer as the target. And then we're going to make a third target, which is 3. We're going to set that to advances, and we're going to set it to 600. And 600 here is whatever your overworld frames are set to. So if we scroll back up, we can see required overworld frames. Whatever you put here, you put into Eon Timer. Since all 3 of these are set up, we can now go back to setting up 10 lines, which we have to do a little bit of tweaking to whatever we've got here. So we are now aiming for this seed, ED64. So we can copy it, and in the 10 lines, we can look around. It would be probably pretty close, but what we're going to do is just paste ED64 here. And you can see it'll come up with the milliseconds, and that's what we're aiming for. We could also change seed plus minus to like 15. And then we also want to look at what our total advances are. So we are aiming for this. We're aiming for 2755. So we're going to copy that and we're going to paste it into the minimum and maximum advances. And then I would just set this to like 200 plus and 200 minus, whatever you're aiming for. So 2755, let's set this to 2955, and then let's set this to 2555. That should be good to go. We're also going to want to make sure that we uncheck filter if we had it checked, and the star and square, we're going to set that to any. At this point, we should be pretty much ready to go. And the last thing we need to do is the method. We're going to drop all the way down to all wild methods, and we're going to select that. That is because the method of the Pokemon that you get, which is method 1, 2, or 4, is dependent really on what the personality idea of the Pokemon that you capture is. That being said, there's no real way to, like, we don't have a super good way to go for it for a specific shiny, and all method 1, 2, and 4 Pokemon have the same PIDs anyway, so it's not worth considering when you're searching for your shiny, but it is worth considering when you find out which Pokemon that you hit. Okay, at this point, we're pretty much ready to start ripping attempts here. So I'm going to go back to the Switch's home screen, and we're going to get started. All right, so the way that we start the procedure here is we're going to boot the game, and then we're going to hit the home button immediately. So I'm going to click start. I hit home immediately. Now on the Switch 1, you're going to have to do this a little bit slower, and that's fine. The Switch 1, if you hit it too fast, the game might not boot. It's kind of Switch dependent. It's very weird. But the Switch 2, you can always hit it immediately. At this point, I'm going to use spacebar to start Eon Timer, and I'm going to hit A on my controller at the same time. You can see how I'm doing this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And now we're just going to wait. And remember, our seed button that I selected was seed button A. All right, so we're going to scroll. That's A. That's what button you hit at the title screen when the first timer counts down. So once this first timer finishes counting down, I'm going to hit, and I'm going to hold the A button. I'm not going to let go of it. You have to hold this button until you're at the save file select screen. So I'll make sure I show that as well. Here we go. So I'm pressing and I'm holding the button. I can let go now because I'm at the continue screen. At this point, we're just going to wait until this timer finishes counting down. And once that's done, we are going to go into the start menu as quickly as possible and use Sweet Send. Here we go. So I'm hitting B here. Pause, go into the start menu, and hover over Sweet Send. Once this finishes, I hit A to encounter a wild Pokemon. Now, it's likely it's not going to be the shiny that you wanted on the first try, right? This is almost never going to happen unless you're already calibrated, and that's totally fine. This is also one of the reasons I suggest bringing a Master Ball, because if I go into the bag and I do Master Ball here, I don't have to faff about catching it or anything. And we're going to reset the game because we didn't get the target that we wanted, so the Master Ball isn't wasted or anything like that, right? That's why I always suggest holding the Master Ball as long as you can. All right. So now what we have to do is figure out where we landed in the RNG sequence. What seed we hit, what continue screen frame we hit, etc. So what we do is we select a nature. So again, leave shininess as any. Nature, we got modest. So I'm going to select that. Gender, we actually got a female. Filter, you should check this box and select whichever Pokemon you got here. So I got a Tangela. Again, there's only Tangela here. Select the filter box. All right. IV calculations. What we're going to do now is put in the Pokemon's level. And we're going to type in all of the stats that it has. Now, if your Pokemon is really low level, like you're doing something on Route 1 or Route 2, what you could do is level the Pokemon up with a rare candy. So go back. Usually, you only need a couple. You really only need 2 or 3 levels. So I'll do that just as an example. And this will just narrow the IV range down a little bit more. So we're at 22. And so I can just type the stats in again. And when I'm finished typing in the stats, you will see that the IVs will get a little bit smaller. The range of them will get a little bit smaller. Okay, I'm going to hit submit, see where we landed. We got no results, which is a bit concerning. But there's a couple of things that you can do when you get no results like this, right? So again, I'm going to hit submit. Tangela, modest. First, double check that you did everything correctly. Oh my gosh. So double check the stats are right. That's number 1. C5, 27, 58, 60, 28, 34. Yep. Make sure the gender's correct. It is. Make sure the nature's correct. It is. Okay, so all of this is correct, and we haven't found any results. What do? What you do is you expand the seed plus minus to like 50. And you can expand the minimum and maximum advances even further. So I'll set this to like 3155 and like 2055. Expanding the range like this can give you false positives. That's why I like to start with a big range, but not too big. But if you get nothing, this is what you have to do. So I hit submit, and we figured it out. So we were quite a bit early on the continue screen frames. That's what it's telling me here. But we weren't that far away on the seeds. This is a 19 millisecond difference on the seeds. I'm going to adjust both right away. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to input this into the hit box on the seed. So this is box 1. This is where our seed is on Eon Timer. Make sure you go back to the full Eon Timer. So we put the milliseconds that we hit for the seed here. In addition, I'm going to put the continue screen frames that I hit here in the second box. You can see I was like 300 late. I'm going to click update, and we're going to get 2 different calibration values here. Usually, I don't update both of these at the same time, but I think for the first time when you're uncalibrated, it's fine to do both at once. So at this point, we're just going to reset and do another attempt. I'll do like a full recording for this one, and then I'll start cutting to see, show you how long it takes. Go. 3, 2, 1. So it's really important that you don't push any buttons during the intro. If you're unfamiliar with that, you don't want to skip the intro at all. You have to let it play out in its entirety. And like I said, once you get to the title screen, Eon Timer should finish counting down around that time. And then you can hit and press A, and you have to hold it until the continue screen shows up. These are just like important things to remember, right? Here we go. I'm pressing and holding A here. I let go because the continue screen has shown up. And now we just wait another 15 seconds. The procedure is the same. You're just really changing up timing, right? Okay. Go. I'm going to mash B here. I'm going to bring up the start menu, and I'm going to hover over Sweet Scent. Let's see what we got. All right, not shiny yet. That's okay. This is our first real attempt, right? The first attempt that we did had no calibration, so I don't even consider it a real attempt, right? If your Eon Timer is fully blank without like the minus whatever here, it's not a real attempt. You need to have things calibrated for it to be a real attempt. So this is the true first attempt, right? We have attempt 0 and then we have attempt 1. Is a good way to think about it, I think. All right. So let's type in our Tangela's stats and such to find out where we landed and see how close we got. This is a bashful nature. It's level 22, which is pretty high level. I shouldn't need to do the level up because once you're really like level 15, you're going to be close enough, know where you are. So I'm going to hit submit. Oh, the wrong gender is what I had here. Always pay attention to that stuff. Hit submit again. So you can see we have a couple of different results. And this is why wild can be slightly harder than something like static or with the Zapdos that I did, right? And that's because all 3 of these Pokemon have the exact same stats and the exact same personality ID. So how do we tell them apart? Well, 1, we look at the level. That's the biggest tell, is you can see these 2 Pokemon are different level than the one that I actually got, which is this one. So I can only have gotten this one. The other way to do is check which seed you got. Now, in this case, all of these are on the same seed, but sometimes you can get Pokemon that are on different seeds. If they are really, really far away, you can see plus 15. That's basically 1 frame late, right? About 15 to 16 to 17 milliseconds is about 1 frame, right? So this is really close. So I would say it is a guaranteed chance that we got this Pokemon. And in addition to that, you can tell we actually hit the target frame that we were going for on the continue screen, but we missed the seed by 15 milliseconds. So what you could do is you could adjust your seed by copying this value and pasting it into the hitbox. However, if you are 15 milliseconds like early or late on your seed, you probably don't need to adjust. That is one frame that is well within human error. Now you can, if you get this like 5 times in a row, or 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times in a row, then okay, adjust. But if you just get it once, human error. That's totally fine. You can't be that precise. You are not a computer. And so now, because I feel like I'm close enough, I hit my target frame, I hit my target, almost my target seed, I'm just going to do another attempt. So I'm hitting and I'm holding A here. I let go. Right? Once the continue screen shows up is when you can let go of whatever button you were holding for your seed. I just knocked my switch 2 over. I'm going to mash B here. Bring up the start menu. You can see the procedure is the same every single time. What we're doing is we're using Eon Timer to adjust our timing in order to get different like timing windows for the shiny Pokemon. One adjustment. That's all it took. It can be that good sometimes. At this point, I could try and throw a Great Ball immediately. I'll probably just catch it with Sleep Powder and stuff. I can pause until after I catch it. But then we can check the stats so you can see. Okay, I caught Tangela. You can see it's a hardy nature, which is the one that we picked. Let's look at the stats in the stat calculator. So it is hardy. Oops. We are level 17, 51, whoa. 17, 51, 24, 44, 42, 23, 26. I'll click submit. We can see we have it's 2 potential options. I guess I could have been, like 20 advances late or something like that, but actually I couldn't. And the way that you can tell is by level, right? This Tangela is level 23, this one's level 17. I have a level 17 one. You can see this is the exact target that I aimed for, continue screen frames, 1555. It's pretty much that simple. You know, it's not really that different from doing static encounters or something like that. The main difference is that because you can get results like this, it can complicate it slightly. And you could get different methods, which also can be a little bit weird. But it's really not that much harder than like a standard wild encounter. I hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next video.